Okay, real talk. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through your bank account at 11 p.m. and your chest gets tight? Not because you're broke, necessarily. You've got money in there. But you're doing this mental calculation of what's coming out, what's already committed, what emergency might pop up, and suddenly you're in this low-grade panic mode wondering if you have enough buffer. You're making decent money, your bills are paid, but you still feel like you're one unexpected expense away from disaster. Yeah, that feeling. The one that keeps you up at night, even though on paper, you should be fine. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about the psychological relationship between money and stress. If you're someone who makes more money than you did 5 years ago, but somehow still feels financially anxious, or if you've gotten raises and promotions but that knot in your stomach about money hasn't gone away, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because we're about to dig into something that almost nobody talks about, but everyone experiences. And before we dive deep, do me a favor and actually hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear this, and it takes you half a second. Also subscribe if you want more videos breaking down the psychology of money in ways that actually make sense for your real life, not some fantasy budget spreadsheet world. Here's the thing. There's this assumption we all walk around with that goes something like this. More money equals less stress. It's obvious, right? If you're struggling to pay rent, getting a raise would reduce your stress. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, having savings would help you sleep better. Makes perfect sense. And for a while, that's absolutely true. But here's what most people don't realize. That relationship between money and stress, it doesn't work the way you think it does. And understanding where it actually breaks down might be the most important financial insight you ever get. There was a study done by Princeton University, the one everyone quotes, that found emotional well-being rises with income up to about $75,000 a year, and then it plateaus. Now, that study is from 2010, so adjusted for inflation, we're talking about roughly $100,000 in today's money. The researchers found that below that threshold, more money absolutely does reduce day-to-day stress and emotional pain. Above it, making more doesn't make you happier on a daily basis. And people heard that and thought, okay, so once I hit 6 figures, I'm good. Problem solved. Except that's not what happens. Because in 2021, another researcher went back and looked at this with better data and found something way more interesting. Happiness does keep increasing past 100,000, but the rate of increase gets smaller and smaller. You go from 50,000 to 75,000, massive difference in well-being. 75 to 100, still significant. 100 to 150, you'll notice it, but not as much. 150 to 300, even less. And here's where it gets interesting. The stress reduction that people are actually looking for, the thing that makes you stop having that 11 p.m. bank account panic, that doesn't happen at a specific income number at all. It happens at a specific savings number. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't that the same thing? No. And this is the mistake that keeps people trapped in financial anxiety even as their income climbs. I've watched people go from making $60,000 to making $120,000, and they're somehow more stressed about money than they were before. How is that possible? Because they upgraded their life at the same rate they upgraded their income, and the gap between what they have and what they need for peace of mind stayed exactly the same. Let me give you a real example. Sarah, not her real name, making $65,000 a year. She's got about $2,000 in savings. Not much, but she's covering her bills. Her rent is $1,200 a month. Her car payment is $300, insurance, groceries, subscriptions. She's got maybe $300 left over at the end of the month if nothing goes wrong. And of course, things go wrong. Her check engine light comes on. That's $400. Down to $1,600 in savings. Her dog needs a vet visit. $300. Down to $1,300. She gets invited to a wedding, travel, and gift. $500. Now she's at $800 and the panic sets in because she knows she's one bad month from zero. 3 years later, Sarah's making $110,000. Almost doubled her income. She moved to a nicer apartment, $2,000 a month. Bought a newer car, $500 a month payment. Started shopping at Whole Foods instead of Safeway. Got a Peloton. Nothing crazy, just lifestyle adjustments that felt reasonable given her new income. And guess what? She's got about $3,000 in savings. A bit more than before, but not much. And when her car needs new tires, $800, and her sister's bachelorette party is in Nashville, $1,000, and her laptop dies, $1,200. Suddenly she's at zero, and that exact same panic is back. She's making 70% more money and feeling exactly the same level of financial stress. Here's what most people don't realize. The money threshold where stress drops isn't an income number. It's a coverage number. It's the point where you have enough liquid savings to cover your true monthly expenses multiplied by enough months that you stop worrying about normal life happening to you. And that number is shockingly specific for most people. Research shows that financial stress drops dramatically once you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. Not 3 to 6 months of income. Expenses. Huge difference. And not your minimal survival expenses, your actual real-life expenses. The number where if you lost your job tomorrow, or had a medical emergency, or needed to take care of a family member, or your car and your laptop and your dog all had emergencies in the same month, you wouldn't have to make desperate decisions. You'd be okay. For most people, that threshold is somewhere between $12,000 and $30,000 in accessible savings. And I know what you're thinking. Eli, that's a huge range. Yeah, because it depends entirely on your life. Someone living in a paid-off house in a low-cost area with no kids and a 10-year-old reliable car might hit that peace of mind threshold at $15,000. Someone with a mortgage in a high-cost city with 2 kids and student loans might not feel secure until they've got $40,000. The number isn't universal. But here's what is universal. There's a number for you, and it's probably lower than you think, and reaching it will change your life more than your next raise will. Let me show you the math on why this matters so much. Let's say you're making $70,000 a year and your actual monthly expenses, including rent, food, transportation, insurance, everything, comes to $4,000 a month. You currently have $4,000 in savings. 1 month of expenses. You get offered a new job making $90,000. $20,000 raise. Incredible, right? You take it. You move to a slightly nicer place. Your expenses go up to $5,000 a month. You're saving a bit more. So over the next 2 years, you build your savings up to $10,000. 2 months of expenses. Better than before, for sure. But you're still stressed because 2 months isn't enough. Something big could still wipe you out. Now imagine a different scenario. You stay at the $70,000 job. You keep your expenses at $4,000 a month, and you aggressively save every extra dollar you can find for 18 months. You build up $24,000 in savings. 6 months of expenses. Do you know what happens to your stress level? It doesn't just drop. It disappears. Because now normal life can't hurt you. Your transmission could fail. Your crown could fall out. You could get laid off. And you'd have time to figure it out without panic. You've bought yourself time, which is the only thing money is actually good for. The person making $90,000 with $10,000 saved is more stressed than the person making $70,000 with $24,000 saved. Every single time. Because financial stress isn't about how much you make. It's about the gap between what you need to feel secure and what you actually have available. And here's the really cruel part. The more you make, the more your expenses tend to rise, which means that gap can actually get worse as your income increases if you're not intentional about it. This is why you see people making $200,000 a year who still describe themselves as living paycheck to paycheck. They're not lying. They really feel that way. Because they've got $8,000 a month in fixed expenses and $9,000 in savings, and they're constantly worried about keeping up. Meanwhile, someone making $80,000 with $40,000 in the bank is sleeping like a baby. The difference isn't income. It's coverage. Now look, I'm not saying income doesn't matter. Of course it does. If you're making $30,000 a year, saving 6 months of expenses is brutally difficult and will take years. If you're making $150,000, you can get there in under a year if you focus on it. Higher income gives you the ability to reach that stress-free threshold faster. But, and this is critical, it doesn't give you the threshold automatically. You have to build it intentionally. And most people don't. They just let their lifestyle expand to match their income and wonder why they still feel anxious. Let me tell you what changes when you hit that threshold. And I'm talking from both research and from watching hundreds of people go through this transition. First, you stop making financial decisions from a place of fear. When you don't have a cushion, every money choice is tinged with anxiety. Should I fix this thing or live with it broken? Should I go to this event or make up an excuse? Should I take this opportunity or is it too risky? When you've got 6 months of expenses saved, you start making decisions based on what you actually want, not what you're afraid of. That shift is profound. Second, you stop checking your bank account obsessively. I know people who check their balance multiple times a day, not because they're budgeting, but because they're worried. Once you have a real cushion, you check it when you need to, not when you're anxious. Third, unexpected expenses stop feeling like emergencies. Your car needs new brakes? Annoying, but not a crisis. You need to fly home for a family thing? You book the flight without the stomach drop. Life still costs money, but it stops feeling threatening. And fourth, this is the big one. You can actually start thinking long-term. When you're living close to the edge, your brain is stuck in survival mode. You're thinking about this week, this month, maybe next month if you're lucky. You can't think about retirement or investing or building wealth because you're too busy making sure you survive until Friday. But once you've got that cushion, your brain relaxes enough to think in years instead of weeks. And that's when real wealth building becomes possible. So here's the actual action plan. And I want you to take this seriously because this might be the most important financial thing you ever do. Stop focusing on increasing your income as your primary financial goal. I know that sounds backwards. Obviously, more income is great. But if you don't have your stress threshold savings built up, chasing income is just going to trap you in a higher cost version of the same anxiety you're in now. Instead, make your primary financial goal hitting 6 months of expenses in accessible savings. Not retirement accounts you can't touch. Not investments. Cash or cash equivalents that you can access in a week if you need to. Here's how you figure out your number. Take your actual average monthly spending for the last 3 months. Not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Add 10% as a buffer because you're probably forgetting something. Multiply that by 6. That's your target. For some of you, that's going to be $15,000. For others, it might be $35,000. Doesn't matter what anyone else's number is. This is yours. Now here's the hard part. You need to treat building this fund like it's the most important bill you have. Because it is. Most people save whatever's left over at the end of the month, which means they save almost nothing because there's never anything left over. You need to flip that. Pay yourself first. The day you get paid, move money into your stress threshold fund before you do anything else. Even if it's just $200, even if it's $100, automate it so you don't have to think about it. And here's where you're going to resist this. You're going to want to invest that money. You're going to think, but Ely, I could be getting 7% returns in an index fund. Why would I leave it in a savings account getting 4%? Because this money isn't for building wealth. It's for building peace of mind. These are different goals. Your stress threshold fund is insurance against chaos. It needs to be boring and accessible. Once you've got this built up, fully funded, then you can start aggressively investing everything else. But not before. How long will this take? Depends on how much you can save each month. If you can put away $1,000 a month and your target is $24,000, that's 2 years. Feels like forever, I know. But think about where you were 2 years ago. Time's going to pass anyway. You can either be 2 years older with the same financial anxiety you have now, or you can be 2 years older with 6 months of expenses in the bank and a completely different relationship with money. Your choice. Now you might be thinking, what if I can't save $1,000 a month? What if I can only do $300? Then it takes longer, but you still do it. $300 a month for 5 years gets you to $18,000. That might be enough to hit your threshold. And even if it's not, I promise you that having $18,000 saved will change your life more than spending that $300 a month on whatever you would have spent it on will. This isn't about deprivation. It's about buying yourself freedom. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about money. The purpose of money isn't to buy stuff. It's to buy options. When you're broke, you have no options. You take the job you can get, you live where you can afford, you say yes to things you want to say no to because you need the money. When you have 6 months of expenses saved, you have options. You can leave a job that's destroying your mental health. You can move if you need to. You can say no to things that don't serve you. Money buys you the ability to make choices based on what's right for you instead of what you can afford. And that threshold, that moment when you cross from no options to real options, that's where stress drops. It's not at $100,000 a year in income. It's not when you get the promotion or the new job or the side hustle that finally takes off. It's when you look at your savings account and know that life can throw its worst at you and you'll be okay. That you've got time. That you've built yourself a foundation that can't be shaken by normal bad luck. So here's my challenge to you. Figure out your number today. Actually sit down and calculate what 6 months of your real expenses would be. Write it down, and then make a plan to get there. Maybe it takes you a year. Maybe it takes you 4 years. Doesn't matter. Make the plan. Start the automatic transfer. Treat it like the emergency it is, because living without a financial cushion is an emergency, even if it feels normal, because everyone around you is doing it too. And once you get there, once you hit that number and you feel that stress lift, you're going to wish you'd done this 5 years ago. Everyone does. But you can't go back. You can only start now. The best time to build your stress threshold fund was when you got your first real job. The second best time is today. That's it for this video. If this changed how you think about money and stress, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos breaking down the psychology of personal finance. Drop a comment and let me know what your stress threshold number is. Just writing it down makes it more real. I'll see you in the next one.